Oh my goodness. Hello, sweet peas. I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. That introduction from, I mean, really, first of all those beautiful sugar columns that the Rumpus women read, I was like, you know, maybe we should just say he's, you know, let's just let him take the job, because he obviously did it so well. But that introduction, Steve, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, all of you, for being here. For me, all day long, I was most afraid that, you know, maybe like 20 of you would actually show up. And when Isaac emailed me yesterday and said that it was sold out, I was convinced that he quickly, you know, emailed all his best friends and said, will you please get tickets so we don't humiliate Sugar? So thank you. Thank you for being here. And Steve and I are going to talk, and I'm going to talk more to you later, but and offer up my gratitude in a number of different ways. But I first just want to say that everything that I feel in this room right now, I really feel sincerely. It's not really about me. You guys have made this column with me. I couldn't do it without you. And I don't think that I mean, I know for certain I've never had any form of writing that I, you know, when I was a little girl and I wanted to become a writer, it was always because I wanted to sort of change the world in the way that the best writing and the best stories and the best books changed mine. And in my other writing that I've done, I experienced that feeling, but it feels more diffuse. And in Sugar, there has been a sense of transformation, not just in myself, but in the things that all of you bring to that. And it's really been one of the most moving experiences of my life, and certainly the most moving experience of my professional life. So thank you so much, and we'll talk more now. Steve. How do we get both?
It's okay. Well,
here, we'll do this.
I will shout the questions, and Cheryl will answer.
Well, can we get another mic on, Isaac? It is on.
It is on. Oh. Mic is on. Fuck, shit, piss. Okay. That's my mic check. So I'm just going to ask Cheryl some questions that I think maybe are common questions. The first of which is, Sugar, 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 will there be a Sugar book?
Oh, yes. There's going to be a Sugar book, July 10th. It's called Tiny Beautiful Things. After that column that so many of you responded to so strongly. And it will be published July 10th by Vintage. And I'm really excited. It's a selection of some of the reader favorites, along with some new columns that will never appear on the Rumpus, some original material. So, and I'll be, I'm sure, back in San Francisco in July doing that. So, yeah.
Awesome. So I'm curious what it's been like, if you can talk a little bit about what it's been like to have these two writer identities.
Yeah, it's been increasingly sort of, it's such a strange experience because, as I've said at Sugar so many times over and over again, you know, really, so many people figured out who I was because anyone who had read Cheryl Strayed's work started to put the pieces together, that sounds like Sugar. And, you know, not only the writing style, but some of the material. And in Sugar, you know, I told you all about me. I just didn't tell you my name and that I live in Portland, Oregon, and, you know, some of those specific things. And so I could feel, you know, that these two writers were really one, but I was always having to keep this big secret. And it seemed a sort of, you know, at first this anonymity was really fun, but of course, what does Sugar always tell people to do, you know? But come to terms with the truth and admit the truth and seek the truth. And so it finally started to seem more like a burden, you know, to have those two different identities. I feel so happy to be one person now.
I will say there's no better city than San Francisco to come out. Are there any subjects, because I think we all feel that what's so remarkable about the column is just the kind of radical disclosure. And you seem so fearless in talking about, in an unembarrassed way, not a way that's unpained, but an unembarrassed way, about what's happened in your life and is happening in your life. But are there any subjects or areas that are off limits to sugar?
Yes, and they're the same ones that are off limits to Cheryl. You know, I take it. One of the most exciting things to me about the memoir form or the literary non-fiction form is that you do that radical self-disclosure and always be sort of digging for that deeper truth and revelation. But it also comes with really great responsibilities to protect the privacy and integrity of the people who you're writing about. And so, yeah, I don't like, for example, I have a brother and a sister, and I've mentioned them in the column, but I've never written extensively about them. They both have big, interesting stories that would lend themselves easily to sugar columns. And out of respect for their privacy, I would never write about them in that regard. I would never dig into their lives. And that's the same is true even with the things that I, do share a lot. You know a lot about my husband, Mr. Sugar. And I mean, some things that even, some of our dearest friends didn't know some of that stuff that I wrote about him in the column. But I talked to him and I knew, I was crafting it as a writer. I wasn't just, going around telling my secrets. And so, yeah, there are a lot of things in our relationship that I don't write about in the column. And maybe will someday, but, you do have to be mindful of that. So I try to be. And I always did. When I was Sugar, I always knew I would tell you who I was. So I wrote it with that consciousness, too. As Cheryl.
So I want to hear how being Sugar has affected the family, but I feel like we got to meet Mr. Sugar. Are you guys ready? Let's meet Mr. Sugar. Mr. Sugar, please make yourself known. If you get that mic to work and you're able to closer to Cheryl, that would be great. It's like a little sugar sandwich. I just want to, slide myself up in between all that sugary goodness. You know what? Why don't you guys?
He's so far away.
Why don't we? There you go. So Brian Lindstrom is Mr. Sugar, wonderful filmmaker, and if I can just say this, and I think I can in this room, a total hottie. So, Brian, now Cheryl, this is the time that you don't get to talk. What has this been like for you? To have, and I specifically mean, I'm reading some of the columns, a little sour in your sweet, for instance, or a little sully in your sweet. That's talking about.
I don't think I've read that one.
Aha, liar. But what has it been like to kind of have yourself as a character in this?
It's been terrifying at times, but I must tell you, it's been a real privilege. And I feel like being married to Cheryl, it's like being married to a truth machine. And, personally, the biggest regret in my life is that infidelity that she talked about, which, for the record, happened before we were married. I had to say it, but I felt like I was an asshole once, to do it, and I wasn't going to then deny her the right to write about it. Right? That would make me a double asshole. And I feel like one of the many messages and lessons I've learned from reading Sugar is, don't be a double asshole.
We need a mug.
So if you're wondering where the brilliant aphorisms come from, have there been moments in which the column has, and I don't want to sort of reawaken them here, except that I do, that the column has caused any friction or tension? Truthfully?
I can't say that it has. We have to sometimes, navigate just as I'm sure, you and Aaron do too, just the kind of push and pull of two artists, doing their thing while raising two kids. And, sometimes Thursday at noon rolls around a little earlier than we thought, and suddenly I have to stop what I am doing, but that's been fine. But, I've had the wonderful privilege of being awoken by Cheryl's concentration, like in the middle of the night. And I hope it's something, maybe not with Cheryl, but that you all experience. And that is just, being with your loved one and just, like T.E. Lawrence said, absorption is heaven, and to be awakened in the middle of the night because Cheryl is like just thinking about a column is both like frustrating because I have a hard time getting back to sleep, but also just like such a joyous thing to see someone so connected to what they're doing and doing it with such a full and open heart.
You're here.
It just inspires me.
I think my final question is whether Brian has any brothers who are single. I'm ready to come out.